Ever imagine yourself out on the tarmac, but instead of boarding a plane, you're the one, making sure it's actually safe to fly?
It's a pretty cool gig when you think about it.
That's what we're diving into today. We're really going to unpack what it takes to be an avionics inspector.
And it looks like you've done your homework. Career guides, interview prep, even some insights from RoleCatcher.
Definitely wanted to be prepared for this one. Going through all this stuff, one thing that really struck me is that it's not just like knowing how planes work, it's this whole other level of electronics and safety all rolled into one.
It's a critical intersection, that's for sure.
Totally. So for those of us who, aren't pilots or engineers, what does an avionics inspector actually do day to day?
All right, picture this. You're on the flight line, right? Got your trusty maintenance logs, maybe for, let's say, a Boeing 777.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
You are responsible for making sure every single electronic system on that plane is good to go. Everything from the radios the pilots use to talk to air traffic control.
Oh, wow. So it's like communication systems too.
Absolutely. To the inertial navigation systems, that's the stuff that actually tells the plane where it is in the world. It's a lot more than most people realize.
Okay, so way more than just like making sure the little reading lights work, right?
Way more. And speaking of systems, we can't forget about the terrain awareness and warning system.
That's the TOBUS, right. I saw that in the guide. Sounds kind of intense.
Oh, it definitely is. See, TOBUS is what helps prevent those, accidental flights into mountains or the ground, especially when the weather's bad.
Right, right. Pilots can't see everything.
Exactly. And as an inspector, you're not just looking for loose wires or something. You're running diagnostics, interpreting some pretty complex data, making sure everything's calibrated perfectly.
You're basically responsible for people's lives then, right?
Yeah.
No pressure or anything.
You got it.
Yeah.
And that's a big reason why this field is so in demand. That and the career outlook is fantastic.
Okay, now you're talking my language. The guide mentioned something about like a 10% growth in the field over the next decade or something.
Try 14%, at least according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
What?
And that's a lot faster than average for most jobs out there.
Wow, that's wild. Okay, so demand is there, but let's be real. Every job has its downsides, right?
You're not wrong. And this one, it's not for everyone. You're dealing with high pressure, constant attention to detail, and some seriously strict safety regulations.
I was going to say, you've got to be dealing with the FAA, right? What kind of hoops are we talking about here?
We're talking about the nitty-gritty. The FAA calls the shots on everything. How often systems get inspected, what the criteria are for repairs, you name it.
Okay, so you've really got to love those technical manuals and guidelines.
You're going to be best friends with them, that's for sure. And documenting every single thing you do. Non-negotiable.
Sounds like a certain kind of person, Someone who likes things a certain way. No cutting corners here.
Definitely not. People's lives are literally on the line. But, it's not all just stress and regulations.
I was going to say there's got to be something rewarding about it, right?
Need time. Knowing you're a part of keeping the skies safe, that's a pretty amazing feeling.
Okay, yeah. I can see the appeal, that mix of technical challenges, the huge responsibility, and knowing you're making a real difference. But let's be honest, everyone wants to know about the career path. What can this job actually lead to down the line?
Yeah, those career guides you picked out, they actually do a really good job of laying it all out for you.
Okay, good to know. So what's the path look like?
It's pretty much a straight shot. You start entry level and then, work your way up to senior avionics inspector.
Okay, so paint me a picture. What are you actually doing differently at each level as you get more and more experience?
So let's say you're fresh out of training, right? You land that first job. You're probably going to be doing a lot of assisting those more senior inspectors, getting those hands-on with the routine checks, learning the ropes on different kinds of aircraft.
So it's like an apprenticeship almost.
Exactly. You got it. And then as you get more confident, more experience under your belt, you'd probably move into that junior avionics inspector role.
Yeah.
You're doing more inspections on your own at that point, tackling those more complex diagnostics, maybe even starting to specialize in something.
Oh, what kind of specialties are there?
Good question. So you could go really deep on a specific system. Like you could focus on avionics, which is all about that electronic communication and navigation equipment, or you could really get into engine diagnostics.
Oh, wow. So that's a whole other ballgame then.
Totally different skill set.
Yeah.
A lot more mechanical and electronic interplay. Pretty cool.
So you're not just becoming a better general inspector, you're like really building a niche for yourself.
You got it. And then let's say you put in the time, get even more experience, you could become an experienced avionics inspector. Now, you're not just finding problems, you're analyzing trends, maybe mentoring some of those junior inspectors.
So more of that leadership element starts to come in at that level.
Exactly. You're the go-to person for your team.
Yeah.
You're sharing that knowledge, making sure everything's being done right. And then finally, you hit the top. Senior Avionics Inspector.
This is it. What's it look like up there?
Well, you're overseeing entire teams at that point. You're the one setting those high standards for inspections, maybe even developing new protocols based on all your experience. You might even work with engineers, on new aircraft designs or help out with safety investigations.
Wow, so you really can go from learning the ropes to shaping the entire future of safety. That's pretty amazing. But let's back up for a second. Before you even get to those senior roles, you got to nail that interview. And that interview prep stuff you gave me, there were some tough questions in there. One question really got me thinking. It was like, okay, you're inspecting a critical system, right? And you find a problem, something that could ground the plane. But there's this deadline, and everyone's pushing to get this aircraft back in the air. What do you do?
It's a tough one. They're trying to see how you handle the pressure.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It's not just, do you know the rules? It's, do you have the guts to actually enforce them when it really matters?
100%. They want to see that you're not afraid to stand your ground when it comes to safety.
You can't put a price on that. So you make it through the interview, you're on the job, working your way up that ladder we were talking about. But things change so fast in aviation.
All the time.
New tech, new rules. How do you even keep up with it all?
Honestly, that's where staying on top of things really makes a difference. You know those guides you had? They had some good pips in there.
Like what? What really works?
Networking. Getting out there and talking to people. Going to industry events. Joining those professional groups. It's not just what you know, it's who you know you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Getting those different perspectives.
Exactly. And don't forget about those industry magazines and websites.
Keeping up with the latest and greatest.
It all changes so fast.
Yeah.
You really got to stay on top of it all.
This has been amazing. I'm seeing this whole other side of things now. All those little details that go into keeping planes in the air.
It's pretty incredible when you think about it.
Absolutely. And for anyone listening who's thinking about this career path, we're just scratching the surface here. Keep digging into those resources. Keep asking questions.
It's a wild ride.
That's for sure. All right, everyone. That's it for our deep dive into the world of avionics inspection. Thanks for coming along with us. Until next time.